conversation starts with the instability of truth. From coercive persuasion, a spectrum from our youth that's brainwashed, mind control and hyper-persuasion's dread. A series of shocks that leaves us ungrounded in our head. It began with the Cold War, the Korean War POWs, the fear of defection, planting seeds of how the mind bows. The military's reaction was to train on the technique, a program called SERE, resistance that was weak. It's the continuum of control that runs from old to new, where the master's goal is not truth but to make you follow through. It's coercive persuasion, a darkness that requires buy-in, a situational belief that must be renewed again. Brainwashing, mind control, hyper-persuasion, they align, stealing the space between the stimulus and the sign. Talk of Patty Hearst kidnapped and held inside the wall, emerging with new mind, a coerced revolutionary call. Her defense of duress, the public wouldn't take. The paradox of willing for survival's crucial stake. In Leonard Kyle, they locked him up and called him paranoid for claiming brain implants, a freedom he'd been denied. But his fears were confirmed, a cold and chilling fact. The government's control research was what was on his track. Is the continuum of control, it runs from old to new, where the master's goal is not truth but to make you follow through. It's coercive persuasion, a darkness that requires buy-in, a situational belief that must be renewed again. Brainwashing, mind control, hyper-persuasion, they align, stealing the space between the stimulus and the sign. But now the technique is targeted, algorithmically refined, hyper-persuasion in your pocket for the collective mind. Like the Facebook experiment where emotions were swayed, and emotional contagion across the network played. The incentive is for rage, the engagement must be fed, a terrifying harvesting of trauma from what's processed in your head. The screen has got you scrolling in a loop you can't defeat, and doom scrolling is the symptom of the digital street. You can find these tactics in the micro-cult's embrace, controlling relationships with isolation and no space. With love bombing to confuse you, a manufactured shared reality that makes the outside hostile a hostile banality. But there's hope in the knowledge, the change is never sound. No one has thought reform permanently on this ground. The key is self-reconstruction, a lens for your own